In the last 2 months, I read 97 volumes, which is around 38% of my total collection. So it's around 227 volumes out of the 600 that I have. And though it was around 100 volumes, it was only across 13 or 14 different series. So I want to start off with the series that I started just catching up on. First was Vinland Saga, volumes 4 and 5. 4 ended the prologue, and volume 5 started off, which I presume is the beginning of Thorfinn's life into adulthood. Sure, it's a change in pace compared to the story so far, but this is the build-up for what's to come. It's rebuilding the environment and atmosphere that we knew and introducing new characters. That's what's interesting now. And though there's not as much bloodshed and bloodlust in this volume, the story is really interesting, and at this point you should be so engrossed with the characters. Thorfinn looks like a mere shell of himself and no longer wears that irritated, angry face. I'm excited to see where this one goes, and I'm expecting the next few volumes to up the intensity and possibly the bloodshed. Next, I read volumes 3 and 4 of Mashle. Mashle and his friends encounter the elite members of one of the other dorms, and the fight between them starts and resolves within these 2 volumes. It's still early volumes, so you still have the shonen tropes of the enemy saying, "You can't defeat me," and "Our boss is unrivaled." And inevitably, Marsh destroys the main leader. As shonen goes, it's both parts comedy and action, just as you would expect from a typical shonen series, and the art never disappoints. It's still definitely one of my favourites of the new gen. And then I read volumes 22 and 23 of One Punch Man. I'm still surprised how Murata can just up his art quality every single time. The Hero Association is still ongoing, and I don't think it's going to be ending anytime soon. The only disappointing thing about these is that they're so quick to read through. It doesn't feel like it's worth the amount of money that you pay for it. You can read these within 30 to 45 minutes. Then we have Taiyo Matsumoto's number 5. I read volumes 2 and 3, and the art has really grown on me. The background characters are so obscure, and just seeing panels and panels of random animals making noises makes no real sense, but it really adds to the reading experience. A lot of it doesn't have any contribution to the story, but I think that's what gives it its charm. I'm not sure if this is going to be a happy or a sad ending for number 5. He's literally on everybody's wanted list. I think everybody wants him dead. And yeah, I'm just really excited for the 4th and final volume. That's everything I've been able to keep on top of. Now moving on to a new series that I've been reading. These are new to me personally, not necessarily new from this year. The first is everybody's new favourite family, The Forgers. And honestly, it's an enjoyable read. I must say the expression in the manga is definitely lost in the anime adaptation. The atmosphere and the expressions are far more intense in the manga, which can sometimes affect the comedy punchlines. I do think though that the hype it's receiving is a little bit too high. I think the high quality of the anime mixed with Anya being so cute and everybody cosplaying as Yor has definitely brought a lot of attention to the series. I just think that we haven't had a non-action battle shonen series in a long time that this feels like a breath of fresh air for most people. It does have a lot of action involved, but it's not battle shonen. It's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than the master of one. But I don't think the anime is the sole reason why it's so popular, because these volumes are extremely hard to come by before the anime even existed. I'm still enjoying it, but I can completely understand why some people have been dropping it, because it's starting to get a little bit samey, especially when you're watching Anya just go through school. I then read volumes 1, 2 and 3 of Cool Girl in Another World. I got this from a recommendation of Cake Tins. If you've seen Interspecies Reviewer, the anime, and was disappointed when you read the manga because the anime just over-sexualized everything, this is where you should have gone to next, because this is definitely way more sexual than Interspecies Reviewer. You wouldn't find this on Faku, but if you wanted to read about a girl who wants to pleasure everyone on her magical bucket list, this is the one for you. More explicit than Interspecies Reviewer, but it's less about dudes being dudes and more girls doing everyone. Also is an isekai. Then I read volumes 1, 2 and 3 of Our Dreams at Dusk. This is a nice slice of life series about a non-profit that go around renovating a bunch of buildings. But the story follows Tatsuku as he struggles to come to terms with his sexual identity. Everyone else in the group has had a similar experience to him and share their experiences in hopes that Tatsuku can better understand himself. I've read a few LGBTQ series as of late, and this one is a little more verbally aggressive towards its main characters compared to the others. and some may take offense when reading, but it definitely depicts people who don't understand pretty accurately, in my opinion. I love some of the artistic panels in this one, and volume 4 is just falling into my laps, so I'll definitely be finishing this one off soon. I then read Hat Atelier, volumes 1, 2, and 3. I've watched Harry Potter, I've played a bunch of Final Fantasy and other RPGs, but their magic systems are always very similar, and this one definitely shows magic in a more beautiful and unique way. Finding out how magic is cast was magic itself, and gives the story almost an infinite amount of possibilities it could be used. From how to fly to identifying herbs, it was truly a magical read. Very cute, very thrilling. The series focuses around a group of young girls, and I say this quite often, but it's sometimes a little bit uncomfortable when I go into reading about series with younger girls, but this one is so wholesome. There's absolutely no sexualization of the girls whatsoever, and it makes it so much easier to read for me. And it definitely helps me focus more on the story and just the magic and world building itself. Definitely looking forward to picking up more of this. And speaking of uncomfortable reads, Age Gap is definitely one up there for most people, but After the Rain is anything but. 17-year-old Tachibana starts having feelings for her manager, who is 45. And though it sometimes looks like the manager returns her feelings as they go on dates, accidentally meeting up in public, but it's all one-sided. It's more about losing your drive in life, continuing to pursue your passions and trying not to give up, even in the eyes of an injury or old age. What I got from this is that it's never too late for anything. You just need to take your shortcomings and use them to your best. It definitely has a deeper meaning than its surface level narrative, but most people will just simply write this off as a simple age gap romance, but it's definitely more than that. There are a few panels where I can understand people thinking that way, but most of it comes from Tachibana, who's obviously 17, very young, and I think really she's just replacing one thing that she loved with potentially this other thing that is just interesting her. But ultimately it's very wholesome, it's very cute, and it's kind of just young adults and adults alike just stumbling through life. I enjoyed the anime, which is why I picked this one up, and I definitely thoroughly enjoyed the series. I then picked up Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, volumes 1, 2, and 3. I've already spoken about this series. I'm very much looking forward to her growth, or potentially no growth at all. Her new comrades definitely mirror her previous group, and who knows, maybe she'll just go through the whole thing again. What I do like about this series is how fast paced it goes. You can sometimes flip a couple of pages and you could be months or maybe even a year down the line. I don't see many manga do that. And then lastly, in my attempt to try and reread my whole collection, I picked up Promoised Neverland. I was very scared to read this one because I was very disappointed with season 2, like most people were. But I got up to the point where it had the transition period. You then go into Goldie Pond, and it was just superb. What starts off as The Great Escape turns into a survival game, and then finally a stretch for salvation. I will say it took a while to wrap up the final couple of bad guys, mainly the dialogue. At the beginning, you were interested in the kids' calculations, their planning, even into the midway point. But after hearing the children's thoughts of what's their next move, survive, how are we going to get out of this, it started to get a little bit repetitive, especially towards the end. This has everything that I love about manga. Even outside of the battle aspect, it has a lot of action. I love suspense and mystery and trying to work out the clues before the narrative tells me itself. Would 100% recommend if you're into action, non-battle shonen and something like Death Note. The only thing is the last couple of pages were a little bit weird. I don't know, maybe it's a little bit rushed, but I still enjoyed it. I then read volumes 1, 2, and 3 of Madoka Magica. I loved the anime back in 2011. Damn. I'm old. But after the first experience, the plot twist kind of falls flat the second time round. I do, however, think everyone should give it a shot, whether you watch the anime or read the manga. It constantly reminds the reader that you shouldn't be selfless and give everything that you've got to another person, and that it will always turn out negative, which to an extent is true, but it's totally opposite to what you'd expect from a magical girl series, which is all about selflessness and giving your all for other people. A really nice dark twist on the genre. I don't know if there is anything else like this at the moment. There was that one anime that I can't remember off the top of my head, which was pretty dark. A load of magical girls dying again. The main villain was the voice of Frieren. I can't even remember what it was called now. But yes, enjoyed the first time. Maybe not so much the second time. And even reading it, I think this is the third time that I've read it now, and it's okay. And then last but not least, I read all of Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super. I think Dragon Ball, by today's standards, has not aged very well, especially when you compare it to more modern day shonen series. Be it visually, how the characters interact with the world, the backdrop is plain and empty, a lot of the enemies have similar features, the power creep for everyone just seems lazy to me, even Goku's trainers get crept out every saga. And worst of all, its namesake. Dragon Balls fix everything. Death, planets being brought back, teleporting people around the universe. There's no stakes because the Dragon Balls will always make it okay in the end. And I feel like I've finally broken out of my nostalgic love for Dragon Ball. That being said, these negative comments aren't the reason why Dragon Ball is one of the most important and potentially one of the most greatest shonen battle series of all time. It's the battles that are so well choreographed, just page of no text, blast, blow after blow. Pacing really makes up for its shortcoming and is a breeze to get through. I mentioned some of the similar features for characters, but it has some of the most iconic and recognizable characters of any battle shonen series, despite their simple design. Dragon Ball Z was truly a great read, minus the Buu saga. Not the greatest, but I still think it's worth picking up 30 years down the line. But I think you should definitely try and pick up the Vizbigs if you can, because they come in colour, or just get the coloured editions. A little bit more expensive. In saying that, the singles are probably just as expensive. Maybe get the box set. That being said, the first 7 volumes of Dragon Ball Super were a slug to get through. And at one point, I ended up wishing that they just didn't continue the series. Everything just felt forced. I feel like all the characters had already reached a ceiling. And although it felt that way at times during Dragon Ball Z, they always burst through the roof. And in this, I just didn't see it coming. They bring back old villains, they go through multiple Super Saiyan transformations, and it just felt so forced. But halfway through the Tournament of Power and the last 6 volumes were some of the best Dragon Ball I've read. I loved Moro as a villain. He was so different to any other villain that we've seen before. Just the way his powers worked, he just felt differently. And even the way Goku and Vegeta acted the whole saga definitely felt fresh compared to everything else I had read so far. Overall, I'm 50-50 with Dragon Ball Super with 15 volumes read. I definitely didn't enjoy the first 7, 8 volumes, but everything after that I thought was amazing. But that doesn't necessarily mean the whole series is good. But what I will say is that Toyotaru does an amazing job with the brand new characters. His character designs are super cool and kind of give off that old Dragon Ball feel, and at the same time give it a little bit something new. Volume 15 goes into the next arc, which I'm super looking forward to. If it's anything like the previous one, the whole series should be good. And that was my April and May reading log. It was 97 volumes. It was around 38% did I say? 37%. And now I'm at 51% read through, which is 334 volumes read out of 652. That was the end of May. This is now being recorded in June. I'm slowly getting through the entirety of my collection. I'm trying not to buy as much so I can finish off everything that I have. And if all goes well, come 21st of September, I should be able to start One Piece and finish at over 80% by the end of the year. Hopefully by September, I'll be closer to 60, maybe 70%. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you've been reading these past couple of weeks, and I will see you next time.